For the past few decades, the station wagon has been on life support. High-riding, heavy, and soul-crushing SUVs have been the go-to choice for those with kids. But recently, wagons have been making a comeback, and the latest to join the pack is this 2026 Mercedes-Benz E53 AMG. But there's a catch. To save this car from the environmental executioner, AMG has given it a plug. Yes, this is a hybrid, and that means it's a performance car with an asterisk. Purists will tell you that a hybrid AMG wagon is like putting a vegan menu in a steakhouse restaurant. It's fundamentally wrong. They'll say that it's too heavy, too complicated, and that a real AMG needs a V8 that sounds like a thunderstorm. And they're not wrong. This plug-in hybrid wagon weighs nearly 2.5 tons. It has more computing power than Microsoft, and unfortunately, it doesn't have a thunderous V8 under the hood. But because it has a 53 badge instead of a 63 badge, then it presumably means that there will eventually be an E63 with a V8. And most likely, a hybrid powertrain, because these days, governments are making it much more difficult to produce turbocharged only or naturally aspirated only V8 engines. So where does that leave the E53? Well, like I said, it doesn't have 8 cylinders, but thankfully it doesn't have 4 of them either like the C63. It's powered by a 3-liter turbocharged inline-6 engine that produces a little over 440 horsepower. Sandwiched between it and the transmission is an electric motor that provides an additional 161 horsepower. The combined total output is 577 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. Mercedes claims a 0 to 100 km/h time of around 4 seconds. However, if you option the car with the AMG Dynamic Plus package and engage the race start function, then power is momentarily bumped up to 604 horsepower. Then the 0 to 100 km/h sprint is done in a claimed 3.9 seconds. In the infotainment system, there's a telemetry page with a drag race mode that will measure the 0 to 100 km/h time. The first time that I did it, I wasn't able to hit it. I managed 4.5 seconds, which is slower than a Toyota Supra. But the following day, I managed both times to hit 3.86 seconds. From behind the steering wheel, the acceleration feels brisk. The seatbelts tighten up and keep you locked in place as the car bangs through the gears on its way to 100+ km/h. But it's the weight of all these electric assists that hamper the performance of this wagon. However, it's the sad reality that we're in today. It's not the only wagon that suffers from this extra heft. The M5 wagon and the forthcoming Audi RS5 wagon are both heavyweights as well. But performance figures aside, this car will genuinely get your heart pumping the harder you press on the throttle pedal. The engine is smooth, and thanks to the electric assist, it has instant response. Sadly though, all of the engine noises that you hear in the cabin are just MP3 files played through the stereo system. The car is not that loud from the outside. Now, physics dictates that a car this heavy should be like a bull in a china shop. And it sort of is, but AMG's engineers have added clever tech to give this bull some ballerina shoes. It comes with 2.5 degrees of rear wheel steering and adaptive suspension as standard. The steering is quick with a hefty feel, and because of its heavy weight, the car is planted through the corners. However, you can feel that heft a bit more in this than in the M5, for example. This car doesn't hide its weight quite as well, but perhaps the engineers made it this way to give room for the future E63 wagon? Who knows? Either way, you can have some fun in this E53 wagon, but don't expect the same athleticism of the M5 or the older E63 with the V8. One area where you might want to take it a little bit easier is when entering a corner. If you option your E53 with the AMG Dynamic Plus package, then on the front axle you get 6 piston calipers. These provide a lot of stopping force, but they don't provide that much feel. Like many other hybrids, the E53 wagon uses regenerative braking to recoup some electrical power. In the everyday drive modes such as comfort, battery hold, and EV mode, there's a disconnected feeling between the regenerative braking and the physical brakes. There's very little feedback provided by the brake pedal onto your foot. In the Sport and Sport Plus drive modes, this gets slightly better, but it's still not a great feeling, thus contributing to the lack of confidence. Speaking of everyday driving, the hybrid battery in the trunk is rated to provide up to 66 kilometers of driving range. But if you're gentle on the throttle and you don't use climate control that often, then you can probably squeeze about 80 kilometers of range out of a single charge. The E53 AMG has 2 primary electric drive modes. EV mode allows the car to drive on nothing but electricity at a speed of up to 140 kilometers an hour or 87 miles an hour. Should you want to save the battery charge, the battery hold mode allows for just that. It behaves more like a traditional self-charging hybrid mode where at parking lot speeds, the engine remains off. But at higher speeds, the engine turns on to provide power and momentarily shuts off for brief periods. Recharging the battery from a level 2 charger can take up to 2.5 hours. But the E53 is available with a DC 60 kilowatt fast charging option that will replenish the battery from 10% to 80% in as little as 20 minutes. To look at, it has that classic sporty wagon design. Up front, it's traditional Mercedes AMG with the massive Panamericana grille and big air intakes. To the side, massive 21-inch wheels house the red brake calipers, and as your eyes look further rearward, you see that classic swooping wagon silhouette. And around back, pop open the power-operated liftgate and it reveals 460 liters of cargo space. That isn't quite as much as the E450 wagon because the hybrid battery raises the floor of the trunk in this one. But drop down the rear seat backrest and cargo capacity increases to 1,675 liters. That's about the same as the GLC 300. In the back seats, there's just enough legroom behind my taller than average driving position. Many's brush the back of the front seat, but they don't feel squished at all. If you do need to carry 3 individuals in the back, the person sitting in the middle will not have a whole lot of space as the center hump for the driveshaft and exhaust is quite tall. As for the front, it's perfect for taller individuals like me. Legroom and headroom is good, as is visibility all around. One of the first things that you'll notice up here is the Starship-like design. This demo car has the optional MBUX super screen that spans from the push-button start all the way to the passenger side air vent. It actually consists of 2 screens, a 14.4-inch infotainment touchscreen and a 12.3-inch passenger touchscreen. With that passenger screen, they can watch movies, or strangely, with the dashboard-mounted selfie camera, they can join Zoom meetings. Either way, this interior does away with physical controls. Everything is either embedded into the main touchscreen or is a capacitive touch control. I personally don't like any of these because they're just too distracting while driving, or they're just too finicky to use, like these capacitive touch controls on the steering wheel. You could use voice commands to help alleviate some of the distractions while driving, but the built-in AI can't do everything. At least it does understand more natural speaking phrases rather than specific commands like in some other vehicles. As for the infotainment system, it's the 3rd generation MBUX system. It's fast responding, sharp graphics, and can learn your routines, which can help automate certain tasks that you use often. As for convenience features, it's packed as a 6-figure Mercedes-Benz should be. There's a 4-zone climate control system, heated, ventilated, and massaging front seats, a head-up display, surround view cameras, wireless phone charger, a 4D Burmeister surround sound system, panoramic sunroof, built-in dash cam, and being a modern Mercedes-Benz vehicle, this 64-color ambient lighting system that can make the inside of your Merc look like a nightclub. As for the price, it starts at $109,900 Canadian. The way that this one is equipped, it comes to a cost of $131,200 Canadian before fees and taxes, of course. So where does that leave the Mercedes-Benz E53 AMG Wagon? On one hand, it's an economical PHEV with the cargo capacity of a crossover SUV. On the other hand, it's a performance wagon that doesn't quite match up against its competitors, nor the older E63, despite this one having the same power. Its hefty weight hampers its performance, and it feels like as though it's trying to do everything, but it doesn't excel at any one thing. But unlike the sedan version that I drove last year, I'm not bothered about this car's shortcomings. Perhaps it's the aura of being a wagon, but I think that this version of the E53 has more character. I know that it's not the top AMG, but I'm pretty sure that eventually an E63 with the V8 will come. And yes, this car is slower than its competitors, but it's also less expensive. The best part is though, we have choices for wagons here in North America. Finally! Either way, if you would like to know more about this 2026 Mercedes-Benz E53 AMG Wagon, I have a more detailed written review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up here. And as always, I will see you in the next car, truck, or most likely it'll be an SUV next time. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one.